You can read every book on love, analyze it, define it, even quote the poets. But until your heart races, your breath catches, and your world shifts, you still won't know love. You can memorize maps of the Himalayas, know every altitude, every trail, but until you stand there feeling the wind, the silence, the immensity, you haven't been there. This is the gap, the quiet chasm between intellectual understanding and direct experience. And it exists not only in love or travel, but in philosophy, in spirituality, in life itself. It's the difference between thinking about truth and being it. Today on the Pathless Path, we explore this subtle yet life-changing distinction between knowledge that fills the mind and realization that transforms your very sense of self. Because some things can't be grasped from the outside. They must be lived, seen, felt, with the whole of your being. And in that moment, the seeker dissolves. Only the seeing remains. Intellectual understanding is gathered through the mind, through study, reading, reasoning, and reflection. We analyze concepts, compare viewpoints, debate theories, and form conclusions. It is abstract in nature. It functions through symbols, words, equations, definitions, mental models. We use language to point at reality, to map the territory. You can study gravity without ever skydiving. You can read about grief, yet never feel your heart break. You can write essays on compassion, while remaining untouched by the raw tenderness of holding someone in pain. You can even spend years dissecting the concept of enlightenment, and yet never glimpse the stillness it speaks of. Philosophy, science, psychology operate in this realm, and rightly so. The intellect is a powerful tool. It helps us navigate, question, and build. It gives form to formless wonder, structure to curiosity. It's essential to how we grow, communicate, and explore. But the intellect is also limited, because no matter how brilliant, how precise, how nuanced it becomes, it is always one step removed from life itself. Like reading the menu instead of tasting the meal. Like describing a fire while standing in the cold. It can point to truth, but it can never be the truth that belongs to direct experience, to the silence between thoughts, to the space where knowing is no longer about concepts, but about contact, intimacy, being. And until the intellect bows to that deeper knowing, it will continue to grasp, but never touch, to speak of the moon, but never reflect its light. Direct experience is something entirely different. It's not processed, packaged, or interpreted. It's raw, immediate, unfiltered. It doesn't come from thought, it arises before thought ever begins. It doesn't describe reality as reality. It's not thinking about the present moment. It is the present moment. Full, vivid, undeniable. Imagine this. You read a beautifully written description of a mango, sweet, juicy, golden, tropical, with notes of citrus and honey. Your mind forms an idea, a picture, a taste memory perhaps. But no matter how detailed the description, until that mango touches your tongue, until its juice drips down your chin and its texture fills your mouth, all you have is concept. Direct experience is the bite, the explosion of flavor, the tingling of your senses. It's the difference between a map and the mountain, between a love poem and a kiss, between watching rain on a screen and standing in it. Direct experience doesn't explain itself. It doesn't need to. It doesn't interpret, compare, or judge. It simply is complete in its own presence. And in that immediacy, something shifts. The mind may go quiet. Time may seem to pause. And for a moment, there is no observer, no observed-only experience itself. This is the doorway to being, not through thought, but through presence. Not through knowing about life, but through touching it fully, openly now. Here's the trap. We often mistake thinking about something for truly knowing it. We confuse clarity of thought with depth of understanding. We believe that if we can explain it, debate it, or analyze it well enough, then we must have arrived at the truth. But this is the illusion of the mind. It tricks us into believing that intellectual mastery is the same as inner realization. That by memorizing maps, we've walked the terrain. That by speaking the language of insight, we've tasted its essence. But intellectual understanding is like reading the menu. It can be eloquent, detailed, even beautiful. It might describe the flavors, the textures, the ingredients, but it will never fill you, nourish you, change you. It stimulates the mind, yes. It sparks curiosity and fuels discussion, but it remains on the surface. Direct experience, on the other hand, is the meal itself. It is lived, not learned. It is felt in the body, known in the heart, absorbed in the silence beyond words. It doesn't need to be explained because it is. One feeds the intellect, the other transforms the being. One talks about the fire, the other burns. And unless we're deeply aware of this difference, we can get stuck circling ideas forever, polishing concepts, refining arguments, stacking knowledge, while life itself waits silently in the background, inviting us to taste, not just talk, to be, not just think, to step beyond the page and into the living truth. In spiritual traditions, especially non-duality, Advaita and Zen, this difference is essential. You can intellectually understand. There is no separate self. All is one. You are pure awareness. These are beautiful ideas, but unless they are seen directly and inwardly, they remain just that. You can quote Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, or the Upanishads all day, but unless the illusion of self collapses in your own experience, the ego remains untouched. So, how do we bridge the gap? How do we move from knowing to being? Not by adding more thoughts, more concepts, or more layers of analysis, but by turning inward, by looking behind the thoughts rather than through them, through meditation, through stillness, through surrender not as defeat, but as openness, through honest self-inquiry that gently asks, who is thinking this? Who is feeling this? Who am I, really? We begin to see this sense of I is not fixed, not stable, not solid. The breath breathes itself, without our control. Thoughts come and go like waves on the shore. Emotions rise and pass like weather across the sky. Even the body changes, moment to moment, and behind it all, something watches, something aware, still silent, unmoved. It doesn't grasp, judge, or speak. It just is. It has no name, no face, no history, and yet it is more intimate than anything we've ever known. When we notice this not as a concept, but as a direct realization, the need for explanation begins to dissolve. The theories fall away like old skin. The mind grows quiet, not because it's forced, but because it's finally at peace. And what's left is not a grand insight or a philosophical conclusion. What's left is simply what's always been here. Silent, present, undeniably real. The truth not thought, but lived. Direct experience cannot be forced. It doesn't arrive through effort or willpower, nor by chasing after it with the mind. It arises when the mind grows still, when thoughts settle like dust in a sunlit room, and what has always been here simply reveals itself. That presence, that aliveness, it's not created, it's uncovered. But let's not dismiss intellectual understanding. It too has a place. It is not the destination, but it is the map, the compass, the finger pointing toward the moon. It is the framework that helps us navigate confusion, the bridge that carries us across the turbulent waters of doubt. It gives us language, metaphors, concepts, all useful tools, until they're no longer needed. Think of it this way. Intellectual insight is like a signpost. It says, go that way. But if you sit at the signpost and build a home there, you miss the journey entirely. So read, study, contemplate, use the mind as a lantern to light the path. Let words and teachings point your gaze in the right direction. But remember, the truth is not in the words. It's not in the concepts, no matter how beautiful or profound. Truth isn't found in explanation. It lives in the space before thought, in the quiet between breaths, in the stillness beneath every sound. It lives here now, always now, and the deepest truths cannot be spoken. They can only be known, silently, directly, through presence, through being. When all seeking stops, when there's no one left to understand, only then is understanding complete. The deepest truths are not learned, they are remembered, not with the mind, but with the whole of your being. They don't arrive like facts, they arrive like silence, like a recognition so intimate, it cannot be described, only lived. And when it comes, there's nothing left to say, Just this. Just now. Just being. Like and subscribe for weekly insights into philosophy, consciousness, and the nature of self. Comment below. When did a concept in your life become a real, lived experience? And we'll see you on our next video.